Hello, I'm here today with Alan Clark. Alan is in the CTO office at SUSE and has a couple other things that he does on the side as well. Alan is chairman of the board of the OpenStack Foundation, chairman of the board of the OpenHPC Foundation, and on the board of directors of the Linux Foundation. I think it's safe to say you're an open source guy.
I am busy,
Yeah.
but I have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll bet you do.
I do.
It's great.
Thank you.
Alan, we got a couple of questions we'd like to ask you today, kind of get your perspective on things, if that's all right.
I'd love to.
All right. First off, what advice would you give to a CIO or a technical architect that is looking at making a move to a cloud or a software-defined infrastructure?
Well, I have to say that right now is very exciting because of all the new technologies coming out, right? We keep talking about machine learning. We're talking about edge computing, all these different new technologies that are coming. But the beautiful thing is, because of open source, it means I can apply those in a way that has good meaning for my business. Mm-hmm. So we don't just usually adopt technologies for fun. We adopt technologies because they drive our business, right? They allow me to get to the market faster. They allow me to provide new and different services to my customers, above and beyond my competition, by the way. They give me the agility to adapt my business policies to meet those customer needs. And as I mentioned, get to the market faster. So those are the things that are driving us. Now you can say I can do those with open source, or I could do those with proprietary source. But as I mentioned, the advantage with open source, and especially with the software-defined infrastructure, is the agility and adaptability that open source gives me that I can't get with proprietary. So it's a very exciting time for an IT department right now.
Yeah, it really is. You know, we've seen open source come such a long way in recent years, especially. Yeah. How do you see then the future of open source, and in particular, OpenStack?
So the future is bright. If you've watched the trend, as you say, open source is just exploding. The number of new projects is just exploding. I couldn't even begin to give you a number of projects that are out there today. And that means opportunity, right? And it means opportunity, as I mentioned before, to apply those to my business. Now, with OpenStack in particular, even OpenStack is growing itself. So we've talked a lot, especially in the last year or two with OpenStack, about how it's being adopted and used, right? It's very much becoming an ingrained part of the enterprise. And these businesses are depending on it now, not just businesses, but governments and research labs. They depend on this software. So a lot of our discussion the last year or two has been about dependability and usability. And you'll continue to see that theme as we go forward. But it's also about growth. And we're talking about now open infrastructure. Yeah. Because as you recognize OpenStack, it's about managing those resources within your infrastructure in an agile manner, right? And it's my compute resources, it's my networking resources, it's my storage resources, all my virtualized, containerized, bare metal services. I'm combining all these things together. And what we've learned is in managing that data center, we can expand upon that theme and envelop this, what we call now an open infrastructure.
Okay, awesome. You know, in all of these, the exposure that you have to open source in your many positions in the arena, are there any new projects that you see coming out that are going to have a really significant impact on IT?
I see several, actually.
Yeah?
And that's what gets me excited about being in this industry. So first off, I would say edge computing. Okay. So we're expanding the data center from the traditional data center to also managing these devices that are out on the edge and that are coming to be out on the edge. And this isn't just your simple sensors out there, right, letting you know that the door's been open. Yeah. But things like biometrics, measuring who's out there, doing facial recognition, right, watching you as you shop, running your cash registers in your stores, right? You're all of a sudden able to pull these into the cloud, which means that I can manage them remotely. I can update them. I can perform the whole life cycle on them, while A, giving me that agility that I talked about before, but B, giving me that manageability over those resources. This is truly exciting. Another area I would say that's very exciting that's coming at us is machine learning. Some call it deep learning, artificial intelligence. There's several aspects to this. Now, artificial intelligence has been around for a long time. It's not a new technology. But the part that gets me very excited is artificial intelligence in open source. All of a sudden, I can apply this in ways that people, when they created artificial intelligence, hadn't really thought about. A, because I've got the power from the compute power nowadays, but B, because I've got access to that source code, I can modify it and apply it. And we're seeing it applied in many different ways, all the way from robotics to, machines helping customers in stores, to learning my desires and my needs for a customer interface, right? And doing voice recognition and so forth. But we're also going to see it in particular in areas like with cloud computing, with orchestration, right? As clouds get bigger and bigger, today's technology with orchestration is a lot about policy and enforcing policy. But as the clouds grow and increase in size, it's going to become much more needed to be automated, and automated in an intelligent way. That's where machine learning and AI is going to come in to play.
Very cool. So, Alan, turning back to OpenStack for a minute, what's the next big thing within OpenStack?
So there's several things. As I mentioned, OpenStack itself, the project OpenStack, has been a lot of the features. We continue to do a lot of features. We have average about 12 check-ins per hour. That's a lot of code change.
Per hour?
Per hour.
Wow, okay.
Right? We've got 3,000 engineers working on the code. So by no means is it done. But it's very stable. It's very enterprise ready. And so the foundation, we have several other projects that want to come and join in and participate. So the foundation is actually expanding to encompass new ideas, as I mentioned before, like edge computing and containerization, right? So we're talking about edge, pulling edge into the cloud, as I mentioned before. We're talking about new constructs for doing containerized services. So those are a couple areas that I'm finding very exciting about OpenStack, and there's others that are coming along.
All right, well, that's great. Now, some of the trends we see in cloud is multi-cloud and hybrid cloud. Where do you see all that going?
So it's interesting. I actually think we're already seeing multi-cloud in the wild, right? And being adopted by our users. Hybrid cloud still seems to kind of be emerging, right? People are doing it, but it's emerging. And I consider hybrid cloud more of being within a security domain, is how I kind of define it, right? That I'm pulling resources and leveraging resources from other cloud services, but all within my own security domain. Whereas I see multi-cloud as different clouds that could be in a federated type environment, or I could be passing workloads off into another security domain type affair. I don't think it's going to be one or the other. It's definitely going to be a mix. Because we're finding clouds are starting to specialize in specific areas, particularly the various vendors that are doing public clouds are finding niche areas to focus on and deliver tailored services to their customers, right? And that means that I'm going to start leveraging them for the services that they provide best, right? The best of resources, right? The best of breed. And I'm going to mix those together. And so I think it's going to be a mix. We've still got a lot to learn. I still think there's going to be a lot of technology development that's going to help us in this area. But I'm seeing the rollouts start to happen.
Okay. Now, take a look at IT in general. Do you think one of them might be more dominant than the other, or just a general
I think
mix?
It depends. In general, I would say it's just going to be a general mix, to use the same word twice. But there will be certain verticals, certain focus areas, like perhaps financial services or so forth. They're going to gravitate to one over the other, right? Where they have certain risks that they have to mitigate, or certain requirements like government and so forth, regulatory compliance and so forth. I think those folks will gravitate more to a hybrid model than a mixed model, but I could be wrong.
Okay. That'd be the first time.
No, that'd be the second.
All right. Well, there you go. All right, Alan. So if someone's not yet engaged with all of this, how do you get started in OpenStack?
That's a very good question. So if you look at OpenStack, it's a huge community. There's over 90,000 members in this community. That's huge, right?
That's really
Spanning 180 some odd countries. I think it's 186, 187 countries from around the world. So you have this variety of talent, variety of cultures, geographic separation and so forth. But what you find is that it's a really fun community to be part of. And out of those 90,000 people, as I mentioned before, about 3,000 of those are engineers contributing code. So all these other people are coming with such a variety of backgrounds and interests. And so when you say, how can you contribute? They contribute in many different ways. So you don't have to be an engineer writing code to contribute to OpenStack. Come and be part of our SIGs, our special interest groups. We just started up one about 6 months ago in the financial services sector. And it's IT, CIOs, administrator folks getting together, just sharing ideas on how OpenStack best works in a financial services sector, right? So it's just sharing those ideas. So it can be as simple as coming and joining the user meetings and giving us your thoughts.
Okay.
Right? So you could start there. You could be an engineer and come contribute code. We've got marketing efforts. We've got all kinds of different stuff that's going on that could fit anybody's talent.
Okay, that's awesome. So that's at a personal level. Now, if a business wants to engage and start using OpenStack, what's the best way for them to go? Do they jump in? Do they buy a distro? What's the best?
So a
thing to do?
business that's adopting OpenStack to use in their environment, I would highly recommend that they go with a distribution. And the reason I say that, we've had, and you can go out there and you can pull top of tree. It's a Apache license, so it's free open source, right? I can do that. I can go pull it. But if you're depending your business on it, you want to focus on what you do best. Focus on your business and delivering those services to your customer. Focus on the things that are going to bring that money in and make your business successful. And leave the rest to people that are specialized and know how to deliver OpenStack to you. Now, we have at SUSE, we have many customers that go out and they pull OpenStack, download it, test it out, try it, right? Yeah. Want to see what it looks like? It's open source. You go check it out. But when they're starting to bet their business on it, they want somebody they can call, somebody they can trust, somebody that knows how to work with these open source communities. And SUSE is extremely engaged in the OpenStack community. They're extremely engaged in the Linux kernel and the whole Linux communities, right? And open source is what I call you can't eat just one, right? It's the same with open source. You can't eat just one. You're going to find when you pull OpenStack, you're going to have to pull other open source projects. Okay. You're going to want to pull other open source projects. You have to pull some, but you're going to want to pull more. And again, that's where distros like SUSE come in. We've pulled all those pieces together. We've tested them. We've built them. We've ensured they're enterprise ready. And we're there to support you for the long term. And that's the kind of backing you need to make this open source work well within your environment and adapt to your environment and adapt to your business needs. And that's what's going to make you successful.
That's great. Alan, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for the questions.
Yeah, my pleasure. Fun. So, ladies and gentlemen, Alan Clark, Chairman of the Board of the OpenStack Foundation, the OpenHPC Foundation, Board of Directors of the Linux Foundation, all around great open source guy, and in the office of the CTO at SUSE.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Alan.